Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today, we have the Spyderco Siren. This is a brand new model for 2020, actually just hitting the shelves right now. I think they're still pre-ordered in a few places, but I was able to get mine through Southern Edge Knife Works. I think they're out again now, but they do have more on the way. But always, if you can, visit southernedgeknifeworks.com, use the code SDSEK at checkout, get 15% off and free shipping in the continental US. So that's always a really good deal. But anyway, yeah, I did an unboxing video on this, but this is my actual full review after using it for a few days. So you are getting LC200N because this is part of the Salt series, meaning that it's meant to be very, very corrosion resistant. I don't know what the backlock is made out of, but I do know it's the same stuff in the other Salt series, and nobody has a problem with those corroding or anything like that. So I'm not quite sure what it is, but exactly what steel it is. They just say it's a very corrosion resistant stainless steel, so I'm not sure exactly what it is. G10 scales. I did not expect this little pop of blue in there. They did not show that in the initial pictures on Spyderco's site, and on many websites they don't show it either. But yeah, it's got a little blue inner layer on the G10. It's just 2-layer G10. These aren't like separate liners or anything. But yeah, it looks kind of nice. I like the look of it. Some departures from the usual Spyderco Salt series. First of all, be the texture on this G10. It is aggressive. If you've ever held a Cold Steel Recon 1, it reminds me a whole lot of that. And we'll talk a lot more about that as we go on. But it is a very, very, very aggressively grippy G10. Makes sense. You're in the water. You don't want it to go kerplunk. Because like I said in the unboxing, if you've ever watched any terrible action movie, you know that once a bad guy falls in the water, he's never to be seen again. He can't possibly swim or climb out or anything. Same way with knives. Once they go kerplunk in the water, they are never to be seen again, unless you're like in a 1.5 feet of water or something like that. So you don't want that to happen. Hence also a lanyard hole, which this is one time I'm not going to complain about a lanyard hole, because for what this knife is designed for, yeah, you probably want a lanyard hole. You probably want it attached to something, because it is not a horribly inexpensive knife, not something you would want to drop in the water. It's not crazy, $168. Not a ridiculously expensive knife, but still, you don't want to go down that road. It is right hand, left hand, completely ambidextrous because it has a back lock, so lefties aren't going to have any problem with that. But we're going to review this knife not just as what it's meant. It's meant to be kind of a folding fishing knife. Now, I will say, I am not a fisherman. I was as a youngin', but it's probably been 25 years since I've gone fishing, something like that. At least a couple decades. So I give no pretense as to being an expert on fishing and whether or not this is good for that. I'm going to review it like I do most other knives, and I know a lot of people look at this, and a lot of people with the Salt series too. They don't just use them just for kayaking and boating and stuff. They use them as EDC knives. So that's what we're going to talk about here as this knife. Does it work for that? So we have some specs and size comparisons before we get too much farther. You have a blade length of 3.6 inches, overall length of 8 3/4 inches, a blade thickness of 0.125 inches, handle thickness is 0.47 inches, and a weight, according to my scales, of 3.7 ounces. They claim 3.6 in lots of places right now, but that may just been pre-production stats or something. It's a hair bit lighter than that. Now, size comparisons, let's bring out our usuals. We have your Spyderco Paramilitary 2. You can see it's just a bit longer than that. And your Para 3 lightweight. So you can tell it's a pretty good sized knife. And next up, we'll bring out our usual Benchmades, and then we're going to bring out a slew of other Spydercos, because if you're looking at this, chances are you're a Spyderco fan, and maybe you have some of these. This is the full-size Griptilian. That kind of shows a little bit better even how big this thing is. And your full-size Benchmade Bug Out. Now let's bring out some other Spydercos to show this. First of all, we'll just bring out a couple of other standards that I have used in the past, the Spyderco standards. We have your Manix 2, which in this case is represented by the lightweight, and your Spyderco Delica, in this case represented by the Knife Center exclusive Pekka wood version, but same dimensions. And now a couple that are probably a bit more applicable. First of all, we will bring out another one of Spyderco's corrosion-proof knives, very dirty, sorry about that, a Spidey chef. I need to check if my blades are clean before I do these videos. I'm not nice to my Spidey chef, so it does get a bit dirty sometimes. You can see quite a bit bigger than that. And another knife that is more in the size range, the Spyderco Native Chief. I think one of their most underrated knives that they make. But you can see it's just a little bit smaller than a Native Chief. So it's a pretty good sized knife. A decent amount smaller, but still it's closer to the Native Chief than it is to a Spidey chef. All right, now let's talk about this knife individually. LC200N steel, I've had really good luck with it, obviously. I use the Spidey chef a lot. As you can see, it's LC200N as well. And I found it to be pretty good. Edge retention is plenty enough to keep me satisfied. Fairly easy to touch up. That's mostly what I try and do with the Spidey chef because I use it so much that I just kind of like to keep it stropped and, just decent. Perfectly happy with that. You're looking at about 25 thousandths behind the edge, so kind of in that sort of general Spyderco range of 18 to 25. So it's a bit thicker behind the edge than some other Spydercos, but it's not crazily so. But the blade stock isn't too thick, so that's not bad at all. I do like the blade shape a lot. I find it very useful. As far as I remember fishing, it's probably a good size for fishing. I always remember using like a fillet knife, that you could had a bit of flex to it. This obviously has none of that, but it should work okay. Again, I'm not a fishing expert, but it should work all right for that. But it's also good just for normal use. The blade shape is definitely perfectly good for normal use. The only thing I don't like about it, and this isn't exactly the blade shape, but for cutting things and carrying this the last couple of days, I like to be able to get closer to a flat surface where this big finger cutout and this big kind of finger guard gets in the way of that. I understand why you'd want it for the purpose that it's intended, though, so I'm not knocking it too much. But I'm saying as an EDC knife, this does get in the way sometimes when you're just trying to cut on a flat surface. You can't really get down to it, and it's something I do on a regular basis and something I really look for in a knife. So that's not ideal for me, for my purposes. It may be for fishing and stuff like that. As far as the ergos go, excellent. It is extremely comfortable in the hand. I mean, everything lands just where you want it. This pocket clip is out of the way. The only knock I have on it ergonomically is if you're not wearing gloves or your hands aren't wet or something. That is pretty aggressive G10. If you have a tendency to move your fingers around a lot, while you're using a knife, it's aggressive enough that you may notice that after an hour or so. Not saying it's gonna like tear your skin off or anything. It's not that bad, but you're gonna, especially if you like sensitive hands, which it's nothing to be ashamed of. Don't be ashamed of your sensitive hands. You might notice it a bit more. It's not a great, kind of carry EDC every day sort of texture. But I said the same thing about the Recon 1, and then I wound up carrying that thing all the time. So maybe I'm completely wrong there, but it feels a bit aggressive. But as far as the shape and stuff goes, it is excellent. And if you are a particularly successful fisherman and you're going to be gutting 7 or 8 fish at a time, you're probably going to appreciate the ergos of it, that it will just stay comfortable in your hand for a decent amount of time, unless that grip is too much. But gutting a fish and all that stuff, it tends to get moist, so you'll probably appreciate that the grip will hold your hand in there. Yeah, but it's very, very comfortable. As far as the carry goes, let's bring out Eel Wranglers. It carries pretty well. It's pretty light. It's well below that ounce and inch thing. And it's fairly slim in the pocket and everything. I like a deep carry wire clip. I do like that. It has a bit sticking out for the lanyard, but again, I'm not going to complain about that with this knife. That's probably a very good idea. But that aforementioned G10, yeah, you can hear Eel Wranglers Mark II being destroyed as I'm sliding it in and out. Yeah, your hand slides right by, but man, that's grippy, getting that thing in and out. It's the pocket tension's fairly light. It's not like it's difficult to push in there or anything, but it's gonna ruin whatever pants you have there. It's easy to fix, but it'll probably take about 3 or 4 minutes to fix it. What I would do, listen again. Oh, that's awful. I think you might have heard my stomach growl there too. I apologize about that. It's early. I didn't even breakfast yet. That's what I do for you guys. But it's easy to fix. Mark off on here where the pocket clip lands, tape it off, sand it down smooth. It's going to go in and out of the pocket easier. Again, I'm knocking it, but not by as much as I usually would be for being a pocket destroyer, because again, this is meant to be used fishing, kayaking, stuff like that, you don't want it slipping out, because again, kerplunk, and it goes away like a bad guy in a Steven Seagal movie. So always remember, you know, that yeah, it is going to hold in well, but if you're going to use an EDC knife, I would do that little 5-second mod. It's super easy. Pop the clip off, you know, mark the spot, pop the clip off. It's super easy. So, and on the deployment, it's a normal backlock from Spyderco. This one came very free out of the box. I do have to say, they did a really good job. This is a Golden, Colorado, USA made one. Very smooth. Most Spyderco backlocks are out of the box, but sometimes, you know, you get one of the Japan ones that aren't quite as nice. But this one's pretty good. It is very smooth. I do like it a lot. I like the action on it. It's very secure. You can flick it out if you don't have a camera pod in your way, and you're better than me. Let's just trust me that you can. It's not meant for that. It's not ideal for that, but you can. You can Spidey flick it if you're skilled and all that stuff. But as usual, the Spyderco backlocks, it's not always that easy to do, as I just demonstrated. You need some room and some wrist flick for absolutely sure. So what are my conclusions on this? I mean, it's probably fine for what it's meant for. $168 for a fishing knife, I don't know. I mean, maybe if you really want a folding one. I've never really felt the need for a folding knife when I was fishing all those years ago, but maybe some people do. It'll work as an EDC. The thing that I like most about these corrosion resistant knives is using them like in the kitchen and food prep and stuff, and this is not great for that. It's just, with that hump down there, you always want to cut on a flat surface every now and then, and it's not awesome for that. I think the G10 is a bit too grippy for kind of everyday sort of use. It will definitely work as an EDC knife, and if you just don't like the look of the other salt knives, which I understand because a lot of them are really crazy colors and stuff, you want that corrosion resistance, but you don't want that look, you like the look of this better, it'll work fine. It's a good blade. It's just, it's not my jam. I was kind of, when I ordered this, kind of hesitant. It wasn't one that I was planning on, but you know, with what's going on, it's been a bit of a delay getting some Spydercos and stuff, and this came out and it was, you know, a new one, and I knew you guys would want to see it, and that was evidenced by when I did the unboxing video. I wasn't expecting to love it, and I don't. I've been pleasantly surprised a lot lately. There's stuff that I was expecting to only like and I loved. There was stuff I was expecting to hate and I kind of liked it. This is exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's just not quite my jam. I love the ergos. I think it's probably great for what it's meant for. But if you're looking for just, you know, another Spyderco to carry around every day, I think you can do better. I mean, it's $168. It's not that much more. It's like, what, $75 more to get a Spidey Chef, which I think is a much better corrosion resistant EDC in the Spyderco lineup than the Siren. For the average person, if you are a fisherman or own a boat, probably great. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.